You are a fluke. And you run from the maternity ward to the crematorium, and that's it, baby. That's it. Camus said there is only really one serious philosophical question, which is whether or not to commit suicide.
Static, unchanging, eternal. And this way of viewing the world helps us maintain our greatest delusion. The thought that we are in any way eternal. We want to believe that some part of us, our consciousness or our soul, will last forever. This delusion is comforting and it makes living easier. It might drive you crazy to be confronted with the ultimate meaninglessness of everything all the time, what we call nihilism. But the same delusion, I'd argue, is also debilitating. It lulls you into a false sense of security, inaction, like a due date a long time in the future. There's always tomorrow, so we procrastinate living the life we truly desire. And we live in more fear. The sense that your soul is eternal makes you cowardly, because failure would stick with you forever, for really ever. Shame, embarrassment, disappointment, they would never leave you. A distant horizon encourages you to play it safe, live to fight another day. For after all, there is always another day.
Now, why does anybody think that way? There's no reason to, because it isn't even scientific. It's just a myth. And it's invented by people who wanted to feel a certain way. They want to play a certain game. See, the game of God got embarrassing. The idea of God as the potter, the architect of the universe, is good. And it makes you feel that life is, after all, important. But after a while, it gets embarrassing. When you realize that everything you do is being watched by God. He knows your tiniest, inmost feelings and thoughts, and you say after a while, quit bugging me. I don't want you around. So you become an atheist.
You know, the closest I can come to imagining true nothingness is to picture the universe running really fast in reverse. All the galaxies squeezing closer together, stars expanding back into gas clouds, and everything getting hotter and denser, compactifying until the whole observable universe could fit into a room, and then shrinking further into a tiny point, and then nothing. Not the nothingness of empty space, but real nothingness, which has no size and no time. To me, that is probably what death looks like. A nothingness so complete you wouldn't even miss it. And this is why I find nihilism liberating and emboldening. If you can really picture the nothingness that awaits you, then what is there to be afraid of?
So if you're a smart kid, you commit suicide. Because if you seriously go along with this idea of the world, you're what is technically called alienated. You feel hostile to the world. You feel that the world is a trap. It is a mechanism, it's electronic and neurological mechanisms into which you somehow got caught. And you, poor thing, have to put up with being in a body that's falling apart and that gets cancer, that gets the great Siberian itch, and it's just terrible. And these mechanics, doctors are trying to help you out, but they really can't succeed in the end. And you're just going to fall apart, and it's a grim business, and it's too bad. So if you think that that's the way things are, you may as well commit suicide right now. Unless you say, well, I daren't, because there really, after all, there might be eternal damnation in the back of the thing if I did that. Or then I identify with my children or something, and I think of them going on and without me and nobody to support them. But of course, if I do go on in this frame of mind and continue to support them, I shall merely teach them to be like I am. And they'll go on dragging it out to support their children, and they won't enjoy it, and they'll be afraid to commit suicide, and so will their children. They all learn the same lesson. And so it has become academically plausible and fashionable that this is the way the world works. Because if you're an academic person, you've got to be an intellectually tough person. You've got to be prickly.
And this makes sense because the hardware I'm running has been developed over billions of years, with the only requirement being that it frequently and accurately makes copies of itself. And it would help not in the slightest in the goal of making copies if the hardware could accurately simulate its own non-existence. We may have no meaning in the cosmic context of the universe, but we make our own meaning daily with each other. And this is the thought that leads to action. Your days are numbered. You don't know what that number is, but it's finite, so get busy with what it is you want to do. Time is running out.
See, that's a way of flattering yourself. He said, we are the end product of evolution, and we're tough. See, I'm a big, strong guy because I face facts, and life is just a bunch of junk, and I'm going to impose my will on it and turn it into something else, you see. What they wanted to say was this: all you people who believe in religion are old ladies and wishful thinkers. You've got a big daddy up there and you want a comfort and thing, but life is rough. Life is tough, and success goes to the most hard-headed people.
Hence the delusion. You're permanent, like stone, always were, always will be. So we are left hardwired for denial, a selected inability to imagine true nothingness, an ephemeral sack of particles that thinks itself eternal.
So you become an atheist, just to get rid of it. Then you feel terrible after that because you got rid of God, but that means you got rid of yourself. You're just nothing but a machine. And your idea that you're a machine is just a machine too. Should you or not commit suicide? This is a good question. Why go on? And you only go on if the game is worth the candle. Now, the universe has been going on for an incredible long time. And so really, a satisfactory theory of the universe has to be one that's worth betting on. That's it seems to me, absolutely elementary common sense. If you make a theory of the universe which isn't worth betting on, why bother? But if you want to go on playing the game, you've got to have an optimal theory for playing the game. Otherwise, there's no point in it. But however, you see, this whole idea that the universe is just nothing at all but unintelligent force playing around and not even enjoying it is a put-down theory of the world. People who had an advantage to make, a game to play by putting it down. So that just won't do. There is someone who cares. It has meaning, it has sense, and you are valuable in the eyes of the Father.